This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sophia Yvette.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Are you in need of a Pestmaster? Well, one may be closer than you think. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our good neighbor, Tsang with Pestmaster, Plano, and Mckinney. Stephen, it's great to have you on this morning. Now, we are so excited to learn all about you and your business. So go ahead and let's get into it. Start off by telling our listeners a little bit more about your company.
Sure. My name is Tsang. I'm the owner of Pestmaster, Plano, Mckinney. So we do pretty much like anything that you can think of pest control. So then we service residential, we service commercial, and in the meantime, we service government entities as well. So.
Wow. Now, how did you originally get into this business, Stephen?
Well, I mean, I'm actually a numbers guy by trade. And so I got into it kind of wanting to kind of branch out, looking into, some blue collar type of work that is more recession proof and in the meantime, like less AI disruptions as well. And I stumbled into pest control and then end up talking to a franchise broker about what I was looking for and all that. And then I kind of got in touch with Pestmaster and end up making a decision late 2024. So we have technically been open doors slightly over a year now. And man, we're growing rapidly right now. So
great. Now, being in the pest control industry, what is that number one misconception that you hear on the day-to-day?
On the day-to-day, it's just spray. But the thing is, like, it's a lot more than that. So we do what we call a IPM, integrated pest management. So on top of course, we will do, we will kind of use the product and all that, but that is technically our last resort. So the way that when we get into a situation or get into a, infestations and all that, we would then kind of look into what was the root cause of that. And then once we kind of know the root cause, we would then be able to kind of have like target treat rather than just kind of go into maybe like a home and all that. Let's say if they have German roaches infestation, we don't just go in and we don't just spray everything. We don't bomb everything. We don't do the kind of, what we call a clean out. But the thing is, what we would do is that like we would really target it and kind of put in the baits and all that. And then we'll come back multiple times to kind of make sure that like those are, fully eradicated within the house.
Amazing. Now let's go ahead and switch gears for a second. We do know that, especially with being a newer business, marketing is the heart of every business. So ideally, who are some of these families, customers you're looking to help, and how are you attracting them?
Sure. So currently is only by word of mouth for now. In fact, we actually got into quite a lot of like apartment complex and all that to start, and government contracts, and that consists of about 90% of our business so far. And in year two, that's pretty much like what we were trying to really, really dialed in was to get into more of the residential market. And right now, I'm really active in like local networking, groups. I'm a member of like a BNI chapter here in town, and that's pretty much where we would get quite majority of our referrals and leads from at the moment.
Love that. Well, let's go ahead and, dive into that number one thing that you would like our listeners to take away from learning about Pestmaster, Plano, and Mckinney today. And let us know, what is your biggest goal this year with Pestmaster?
Sure. Let's talk about the goals first. I would definitely want to increase our residential penetration from 10% to about like 33%, 1/3 of it. And knowing that we just signed a huge contract with one of the cities around here, that number is going to be quite hard to achieve. But then that's our goal this year, and we're trying to go really hard on that. One thing that is different from us compared to like other pest control company out there is the fact that we go on IPM. at the end of the day, the product that everybody spray is pretty much the same. But it's just that like whether or not you got the right amount of it, are we doing the target treat, or we just simply just kind of blast out like all the quote unquote chemicals and all that in the environment and all that. We kind of have a different approach. We want to, because like I have 2 young kids at home, right? So like I don't want them to get exposed to all those chemicals out there. And so I'm my own customer as well. And yes, we do spray, but those are technically our last resort. If we have anything that we can do that is outside of the spray, we would do that first. And then even if we were to do the spray, we wouldn't be doing like, a full on like spray everywhere. But then we'll just kind of do a target spray on the issue. So
Now, ideally, how long should the families be outside the home if you do have to do the spray?
Technically a good maybe like 30 minutes would do. But the thing, like let's say for like outside spray and all that, the family can technically stay inside of the house. And let's just say if there's like say German roaches and all that, technically they don't even need to leave the house. Because mainly we'll just kind of focus on the target areas where like, where the roaches and all that will be at. But the thing is like our technician would definitely kind of like provide some sort of like a guidance to the customer every single time when we go there. And so like they would then kind of know what the expectation is and the protocol as well, because like we treat different pets differently. And so even when we talk about say like bed bugs and all that, there might actually be some of the things that the client might actually need to do beforehand so that the treatment can be as effective as possible. And of course like we don't want that to ever come back. And so like we wanted to kind of follow the protocol and everything kind of done the same way every single time. So
Awesome. Well, I think we went over so much great information today. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners go to learn more about Pestmaster, Plano, and McKinney?
sure. You guys can go on to www.pestmaster, spelled PESTMASTER.com. So then we're one of the 2 franchises around the area. And, both of us, we pretty much like follow the exact same protocol. So then, depends on the geographical locations that you might be at, it would be either us or another franchisee of Pestmaster. Both of us, we're more than capable to service your needs. And looking forward to serving you. So
Well, Stephen, I really appreciate you being on the show today. We wish you and your business the best moving forward.
absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpfrisco.com. That's gnpfrisco.com or call 469-221-9345.